Okay, so this is what my Canvas looks like. That's my lab coat, speaking of lab coats. There's something called a high risk waiver and a lab safety contract you need to turn in this week. And when you click on modules, and when you go down to lab safety contract, basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be filling this out and agreeing to it. It's very common sense rules. And you're going to practice creating a PDF from this after you sign it and then uploading it. When you click on the assignment, it'll prompt you for a file. Now, I want one PDF file. I don't want a PDF file per page. I want one PDF file, okay? You can do it from your phone. You can do it from a desktop scanner, flatbed scanner, a lot of different ways to create the PDF, okay? Hi, you need to sign the attendance sheet up front. You also need to sign this high risk waiver as well. So there's two documents you're going to be uploading, okay?
Is there a seat back there?
There's one right there in front. And class starts at 5.
I know, I just got off work.
Okay, so this is how I'm divvying up your points. You're going to have 5 exams. Okay, it's going to count half your grade, 5 tests. You have a final, which is equal to one of the tests. That's 60% of your grade. Quizzes are 10% and labs are 30%. Remember I said easy points, hard points. Lab points are easy points. Also, you're going to need a scientific calculator. A calculator, I recommend a Texas Instrument one, and make sure it has an EE function on it. An epsilon EE function on it. You'll find that will save you 4 keystrokes. Okay. This is how to get a hold of me. Obviously, and Canvas has a messaging feature. You can also text me. Here's my Sierra College email address, tferguson8. My Gmail is trferguson88, so I don't know how they ended up with it. Anyway, tferguson8. Okay, so class will start at 5. We're going to be out of here at 1:20, like 6:20, and a 10-minute break in between. And you're going to go across to the main building, kind of catty corner from here. And the lab is on this end of the building to the right. And it's lab 106. Now, I have to break down all electronic stuff, and so I'll be over there. So you can pull around. There's some food stuff there. Have at it. Okay, so I don't mind text messages as long as they're short. Excuse me, by the way, I have a chronic cough that's getting much better. Yeah, so I'm not contagious. In fact, I'm going to ENT on Monday. But if you have a problem with you have an issue with a problem, for example, and you can't figure out how to do it and set up, it's better to take a picture of the problem and email me. However, if you use Canvas messaging, it doesn't do attachments very well. I don't know why, it's flaky. When I was up in Washington, it's the same way. It's just Canvas doesn't do attachments well. So go on to Outlook and send me the message. It works much better. Okay. Let's see, and I'm setting up office hours, but they don't send me the form. I'm going to try to do it like before class. But they aren't sending me the forms. It's like same with Sac City. They haven't sent me the forms. Okay. Our first unit is on measurement and calculations, and it's going to be there are 2 units that are very mathy, this one and unit 4. And if you don't like math, sorry, sad face. If you like math, happy face. It's just part of the whole thing. Chem 1A is even more mathy. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we have dry labs and wet labs. Wet labs will involve chemicals. Dry labs are basically a big giant worksheet. And the way I'm going to grade your dry labs is I'm going to take 10 random questions. There's 6 pages worth of problems on there. So if you want to gamble, do however many you want to do, but I'm going to take 10 random ones, and that's how I'm going to base your grade on that, okay? Because I have 50 plus students times 6 pages. That's equivalent to 300 pages. And I like to get your labs turned around quicker, okay? So your labs are due 1 week after the last day of the lab. So today, you'll have 1 week to finish it. I'd like you to get most of it done in lab tonight. And it's also due on the last 1 week after Thursday. Because otherwise, it'd be 2 different due dates. I only have 1 assignment, okay? So it'll be due a week from Thursday. And the next lab is also a dry lab. So both those are going to be due a week after, okay? Okay, you need to initial your name up here. Okay, here's the schedule here. Yeah, you need something to write with.
I need something that kind of find a seat. Can I find a seat? Thank you.
Here.
Do I need to sign something?
Yes, you have to initial your name right there. See all initials? All right. And this is a schedule. Notice up at the top right here, we have V 4.0. If I change this, I'll update the version number. So make sure that the one online and your paper copy are synchronous. Okay, so if it's online, it's 4.1 and you have 4.0, something's different. It could be trivial or it could be, major. Okay, so those are lectures and laboratories. Let's see. Okay, so any questions so far? Administratively, that's kind of what I wanted to cover.
class, late due to my own negligence, started out. Got times mixed up, so here now.
Okay, you need to come up here and initial your name, please.
So that, thank you, sir.
Okay, so any questions about admin stuff? It's very straightforward. I mean, nothing magical. There are two lists, Tuesday and Thursday.
Sweet. Looking for my name.
All right, so let's start getting into the meat of Unit 1. The meat of Unit 1 is mathing. When you go to lab tonight, you're going to see which classes you sign for, Tuesday or Thursday.
I believe both. It shows both on my canvas. I can show you right here.
No, it's because Canvas classes are merged.
Okay.
So what did you originally sign up for?
Intro to chem. I can just show you. I'm not sure. It shows me to be here, right here, Thursday, and then Tuesday and Thursday right here at 5 to 6:20.
What was the,
Yeah, I originally thought it was at 6:30, and I glanced today and saw the 5 to 6:20, so I shot over here. And I do not see my name on either. Oh, I see my name right here on this one.
okay,
Roger, thank you.
okay, so I want to cover, so grab a seat.
Okay.
I want to cover two things today. That's going to cover what we're going to talk about in lab. That is something, who's heard of significant figures? Okay, about a third of you, okay? Who's heard of scientific notation? Good, okay. I'm going to go over some of that. Now, hopefully this will be review for you. If not, I will give you lots of practice. And if you're like me, I take lots of practice for me to learn something. Savants look at stuff and then go, oh, I got it. They'll do two problems and then they have it. Okay, that's not me. So I'm going to assume all of you learn like me. Lots of practice. That doesn't mean you have to do it all. I'm just going to give you the opportunity of having lots of practice to do. I also have additional ones beyond that lab we're doing tonight. I have lots and lots and lots of practice. Also, your textbook has got lots of practice as well. So there's a plethora of varieties of problems for you to practice on. Okay, so first thing, we live in a society that doesn't have perfect machines. Every machine we use to measure something with has some error built into it because they aren't perfect, including our eyes, our smell, our taste, our hearing. We're like a machine in that way. Okay, so there's some discrepancy in how accurate we're actually measuring something. And that's what the significant figures are all about. So this is the first page of your worksheet tonight. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to figure out how many significant figures are in these numbers. Because when you do a problem, it's similar to this metaphor. If you have a chain with 10 links in it, 9 of the links are good for 100 pounds. The 10th link is good for 10 pounds. How much can you lift with that chain? 10 pounds. Because you go to 11 pounds, the weakest link will break. It's the same when you're doing math with significant figures. You're working with the least significant number is going to determine the significance of your answer. So you need to understand significant figures. Otherwise, your answer will be wrong. When you do a problem in here in the test, I'm going to look for your setup. Also look for significant figures. I call them sig figs or SF, and also the actual numerical answer. From now to the end of the semester in December, we're going to be always considering significant figures whenever we're doing problems. No exceptions, okay? no exceptions. So it's inherently important then that we understand significant figures. Okay, so I'm going to write down some numbers, and you are going to tell me the number of significant figures. Then we're going to come up with some rules. Okay, so what do you think? How many significant figures do you think that number has? 3. Okay. And that's right. How about that number? 3 again. That's right. How about that number? 2. How about that number? 3. How about that number?
Oh, yeah.
We have 2. What else? 1. Before I tell you which one's correct, how about that number? 2. What is the difference between this number and that number? Huh? It's a decimal. Decimal, okay? So no decimal, decimal. Now, this is the correct answer, 1 for this one here. Okay, now I want you to keep that in mind, okay? How many sig figs is that? We have 2. What else? 5. 4. Okay. 2 is the correct one. Now the issue is going to come up. We have zeros affect the significance of the number. We also have decimal points that's going to affect. How about that? We have 3. How about that? Someone says 3. Okay. So the issue is zeros. Issue is decimal point. Okay. So whenever either one of those are present, you have to analyze what's going on. Okay, so we have 3 situations with zeros. Notice up here, the 0 was in the middle, and that counted for a significant figure. So there's going to be rules now. These are significant figure rules. Number 1, if the 0 is in the middle, always counts. No exceptions. If it's in the beginning, it never counts. So this one over here, for example, all those zeros in the beginning, they don't count. Okay, now the tricky part is, what about the end? Okay. If a decimal point is present, it counts. No decimal point. doesn't count. So no decimal point doesn't count. Decimal point, it does count. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so your first activity tonight, you have a whole series of numbers, and you're going to go through and whip out sig figs. Okay, I'm going to be circulating tonight and Thursday night. I'm going to be circulating among you to make sure you're okay with this. Now, I'm very easy to talk to. Most of my students say, you know, I don't judge. I try not to judge. And I want my students to do well. My ego comes from you guys doing well. My ego does not come from me flunking so many students. Now, there are people in this department that brag about how hard their class is, and 50% of the students don't pass. Well, if 50% of my students didn't pass, I would be looking myself in a mirror and going, what did I do wrong? My students all pass. I shouldn't say all of them pass, but a high percentage of them pass, okay? There are outliers that refuse to get in the program. So anyway, remember, that's where my ego comes from, you guys being successful. So don't be shy about asking questions. People that don't ask questions usually have a question in your mind, and the person next to you also has the same question and never gets asked, okay? So don't be shy about asking questions. And remember, I'm hard of hearing. Okay, so now we have some rules for significant figures. Now, that doesn't do anything as far as being practical. So say we're in a lab and we're having to do some multiplication. That's multiplication, division, exponentiation. Those are all the same process. They're inverses of one another. It's the same process. Okay. Okay, so the answer takes on the least significant number. So if we're multiplying we did our calculator, we're going to get, all right? And your calculators sometimes will think they're smart, and sometimes they won't. So I will multiply 5.1 times 6. My calculator tells me it's 3.06 times 10 to the 1, or 30.6. Okay, is that the correct answer? Okay, well, it says answer takes on the least significant number. So number one is you need to figure out significance of each of the operons. How many sig figs is that? 2, 1. So your answer is going to have 1 sig fig. 1 sig fig. So what's our answer then? 30 with no decimal point. Yeah. How many sig figs does 31 have? Okay, so now her question is, yeah, I mean, if we're going to 2, then you round up. So to round regarding significant figures, take this, our answer is going to have 1 sig fig. So you go to the second significant figure, which is this guy. If it's 0 to 4, you drop it. If it's 5 to 9, you increase by 1. Doesn't matter what's down there. This could be all 9s. Does not matter. Okay, so if we're looking for 4 sig figs, you go to the 5th place. And that determines what's going on with the fourth place, okay? Okay, so our answer is 30. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with that answer. But that, in terms of laboratory practice with engineers, physicists, chemists, quantitative biologists, geologists, they all have to live with instruments measuring stuff, medical field, and that's the deal. So this 6 is not very precise. 1 sig fig. Now, let's do this a little differently. Okay, what's our answer now? Well, we have to determine sig figs here. How many sig figs is that? 3. 3. Remember, trailing zeros count if there's a decimal point, right? So it's 3, 3. So our answer is going to be 3. 30.6. And usually I'll go like this. Circle the answer. You don't have to put that down. That's just for your clarification. You can put it on if you want. That's more than fine. Okay, so 3 sig figs, 3 sig figs. Our answer is going to be 3 sig figs. 2 sig figs, 1 sig fig. Our answer can only have 1 sig fig. Okay. And that goes for multiplication, exponentiation, and division. Okay, so we did that. Okay, so that's what my calculator tells me the answer is. Now remember, El Dumbo. Calculators are smarter than they used to be, but they're still kind of on the dumb side, okay? They don't understand things like significant figures. Okay, how many sig figs is that? How about this? So how many does our answer have to have? 2. So we go 1 more than 2. Third place, it's 5 or more, so that kicks us up to 2.6. So those are operations involving significant figures for multiplication, division, and exponentiation. What about addition, subtraction? The rules are similar, but not the same. Let's see, let's do this differently here. Okay, so we have 511 minus 4.2. Oops, wait a minute. Okay. By the way, I put a 9 here. And what I want you to do when you do a math problem in this class, I want you to look at your answer and go, is that reasonable? Is that a ballpark reasonable answer? Well, obviously 9 point could be not reasonable because I'm taking 4 from 5, it's going to be like around 1. So 9 is like something's wrong. Okay, so let's look at that. Now with addition and subtraction, all you're looking at is number of decimal places. 2 decimal places, 1 decimal place. How many is this going to have? 1 decimal place. Remember, weakest link in the chain. So our answer is going to be 0.9. So it's basically looking at the weakest link in the operation. Doesn't matter if there are 24 parts to this. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about dimensional analysis. And sometimes we have 1 step, sometimes it's 5 or 6 steps long. But again, the rules of significant figures comes into play regardless of how many steps it is. It was multiplication, division. Most of what we're going to do in here is multiplication division. We're going to be doing in unit 4, we're going to be doing a lot of addition because it's going to have to do with the periodic tables, decimal numbers there. But normally we are multiplying and dividing. Normally, like 90% of the time. So there, the significance of each operon of the process determines your answer. Okay, well, what if okay, is everyone okay with this? We're going to practice this a lot tonight. Does this make sense? So first you need to figure out sig figs. Secondly, what kind of operation is this? Is it multiplication division or is it adding, subtracting, and then use the appropriate rules for that? And that'll be your answer. And again, you can circle it if you want, put 3SF if you want, all that stuff. You don't have to put it in though. Also, I'd recommend a pencil and a big eraser will be your friend in this class. And if you're going to buy an eraser, buy one that's they're white and they're real soft. And they are like so much better than the pink ones. I learned that about 10 years ago. A student left it in class. I picked it up and used it. I went, whoa! They really work well. So a big, and they're like $2.50 or something. They're not cheap, but they last forever. I think I have the one from that 10 years ago still. They just last forever. They're really kind of cool. So anyway, I highly recommend pencil. If you're going to use a pen and scratching out and everything, you're going to risk me not being able to follow your logic if you miss the problem. Now you're going to find in a little while, not today, but in a little while, we're going to get into some of these multi-step problems. If you miss the problem, you're going to miss 10% of the points, assuming your setup is right. If your setup is right, I give you 90% of the points. So if the problem is worth 10 points, you can get 9 points for that setup. Now, if I can't follow your setup because you're scratching everything up, I'm not going to be able to give you partial credit. But it's important to be reasonably neat. I don't write legibly all the time, but try to be as legible as you can and think of me trying to follow your logic. Okay. Now, we have a situation in science and engineering where we have some really, really, really huge numbers and some really, really, really tiny numbers. And those tend to be awkward. Let me give you an example of one. Okay. So imagine putting that into your calculator. Okay, so would you class this as an awkward number? This uglier than you know what, okay? So there's a way we can get around that by expressing this in scientific notation. And that's the purpose of scientific notation, is to make awkward numbers less awkward. Less awkward. Okay, so to do that, scientific notation has two parts. There's a base 10 number with an exponent and a number from 1 to 9. Okay, so our decimal point is here. So if we're going to convert this number to a number from 1 to 9, that's going to be 2.3. If we convert, I don't even know what this number is. It's some quadrillion number. How many decimal places do we have to divide this by to get to 2.3?
Well,
I don't know. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Now, we're just renaming the number. The numbers, the count of the number doesn't change. We're just renaming it. So this number here is going to be 13. So 2.3 times 10 to the 13th. So one thing that does not count is the number. The second thing is the precision. How many sig figs does this number have? Now the way I wrote it originally, there's no decimal point there. So how many sig figs does that have?
2.
2. So that means this thing has to have 2 also. So this determines so the decimal number determines the amount of sig figs in the rewritten number. Now again, two things. The count does not change. And also the precision of the number doesn't change. So if we're having 2 sig figs here, 2 sig figs. If we have 23 quadrillion, number-wise, we have to have the same number down here. All we're doing is putting a new face on it that's not as awkward. Okay, does that make sense? So this does not determine the number of sig figs, this exponent. Can anyone guess why? Kind of a tricky question.
The zeros.
No. What do you think? How many sig figs do you think that number there has as an exponent? No. Not 0. What's the opposite of 0? Infinity. Because we made it a perfect number. Perfect numbers have infinite sig figs, infinite precision. Okay. So the only thing that determines the significance of this number here is this one. Because remember, when we multiply, we take the least significant number of the operons. Okay. So that's how many again? Infinite. And how many is this one? 2. So our answer is 2. That's why the exponent does not affect the number of sig figs. Yes.
The one where the decimal point starts. How many?
It has to do with the 0, number 1, where the 0 lies. If it lies at the end of the number, it's not significant. If there's a decimal point in the number, it is. Those are rules you're talking about? Yeah. So if it's a beginning, it never does. If it's in the middle, it always does. If it's at the end, decimal point, yes or no. If it's yes, counts. If there's no decimal point in the number, it doesn't count. So like 100, how many sig figs is that? 100.
to where the zero is or where the decimal point is?
Is there a
That's
decimal
my
point in,
focus.
is there a decimal point in the number I just gave you? 100?
Yeah, at the end.
I would have told you there's a decimal point there. So okay, that number there.
No.
No decimal points, so the zeros don't count at the end. How many sig figs is that? Okay, are there zeros at the end?
Two?
Are there zeros at the end?
Yeah, no, yes. There's zero at the end.
There are two zeros at the end, right?
At the end of the decimal point?
No, at the numbers.
The significant, the digit, the one?
No, how many zeros are in that number?
Two.
Two, and they fall at the end, right?
Yeah.
After 1, 0, 0. You're complicating this. This is not hard now. This one is really simplified. Okay. Number one, the zeros are at the end. So how is that going to affect the number of significant figures? So you need to ask yourself, is there a zero or a decimal point in that number? Yeah. So that means that ones at the end count. All of them. So we have okay, we have 3. So this is 3 sig figs. That's 1 sig fig. Okay, no decimal point. That means none of those count. Decimal point anywhere in the number, doesn't matter where it is. Anything at the end then counts. So there's a decimal point up. That means any zeros on the end count now. We have 2 of them there. So there's the 1, 0, 0. You have 3 of them. Is that better? The- No, not in front. Only the zeros at the end. The zeros in the front never count. Zeros in the front. Okay. We have 0.0035. Okay. This is 2 sig figs. Zeros in the front never count. Now, if we were to convert this to scientific notation, what would it be? Right. So how many sig figs does this have? 2. How many does that have? 2. Remember when we go to scientific notation, the sig figs can't change. So if this has 2, that has 2. If this has 2, that has to have 2. So the one zeros in the beginning never count. Zeros in the middle always count. Zeros at the end only count if there's a decimal somewhere in there.
So if there was a 0 after the 5, would it be 3.50 times 10 minus 3?
And how many sig figs will that have?
3.
3, exactly. Now you're going to practice this a whole bunch tonight. And I'll be circulating around, giving enthusiasm to everyone. Okay. Okay, so let's continue this now. What if we were going to take this number here and multiply by what would that answer be? Okay, so I want everyone to take out their calculators. And if you always bring your calculator to class and lab. Okay, if I put this into my calculator now, the reason why I said if you don't have a calculator now, buy a Texas Instrument calculator with an EE function, The EE function is going to replace this times 10. So I'm going to put into my calculator 2.3 EE 13. The other way to do it is to go 2.3 times 10 caret 13. So you're saving yourself steps if your calculator has an EE function on it. Times 1.567 EE again. Change sign, not subtract, change sign 4. Okay. Want everyone to do that on their calculator that has their calculators with you. And tell me what the right answer is. By the way, you can use your phones except on the tests. I think they do it differently. I don't think they have an EE. They always do things differently.
It's just like,
So what's the answer? What? Did you say 3.6? Yeah. How many sig figs is that? 2. How many is that? 4. That means this has 2 sig figs. So it's going to be 3.6 10 to the 9. Yeah. Let me see yours real quick.
how we would put it in. I have the EE,
Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay. All right. So you're going to go 2.3. You're replacing this with EE 13 times 1.567 EE change sign 4. Enter.
Just to be clear, and so the answer being 3.6 times 10 to the 9, because there's only 2 sig figs, you just drop the 0.
So we go to the third place. 0 to 4, just drop it. 5 to 9, we kick the second place up by 1. Now, some departments, they go, if it's even, we're going to kick it up. If it's 5. If it's odd, we're going to kick it down. We don't do that here. If it's 5, we always bring it up. And it depends what school you're at, and or if you're in the math department, they do it sometimes differently than they in chemistry. You know, it's like, yeah. Oh. Now I want to go over, how are we doing on time here, right? There's another one I want to go over. Is everyone okay with this answer? 3.6 times 10 to the 9? Okay. That's a this, not this, right? Okay. All right, so let's do this a little differently. Okay, so we have another problem. 2.3 times 10 to the 13 divided by, remember fractions are another way of saying divided by 1.56 times 10 to the minus 4. Okay, so how are we going to do this one? Again, my dumb calculator doesn't know about sig figs. So this is what its answer is. And actually it goes out to about 23 more places internally. So what answer do we have? How many sig figs is this again? 2. How many is this? 3. So our answer is going to have 2. Okay, so then we go to the third place. Okay, it's 5 to 9. We kick it up once. That beats 1.5 times 10 to the 17. Yeah.
So on track, first problem, the second one, 17. So what is the rule for exponents?
When you multiply, you add them. You should, when you divide, you subtract.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. When you divide, it's the numerator minus the denominator exponent.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So that's how we ended up with 17 here. So 13 minus a minus 4, 17. Okay. So lots of math, first unit. So is everyone okay with that? Okay, so why don't we end here? And I've got to take apart all my electronics junk, and I'll meet you over. And we're in lab 106. So it's going to be there as you go in the building from the back. You're going to go to the right, and you'll pass one lab, which is 104, and then the next lab is 106 on the right. So it's right. Natural History Museum, exactly.
To go with you afterwards, just to see where it is, or just to do this?
Tuesday only. Tuesday only. Yeah.
Is the packet that we printed out in preparation for them the Thursday before Thursday something you want us to have complete by that day, or is that something we're doing in class or in the lab that day?
We're doing it in the lab that day.
Okay, so you don't want me
It's-
to come with it done.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, you can have it done if you want, but,
Sure,
and it's due a week later.
sure,
All the labs are always give you a week.
right, okay, so the entire purpose of our dry lab for Thursday is just doing the packet and practicing this stuff?
While I'm around.
Sure, yeah, and you'll be
Yeah,
there, of course, but that's what we're
And you
doing
can,
for
if
the
you,
lab time.
if you know this backwards and forward, you can go.
Okay.
I mean, just.
Right.
You already know how to do it. I mean,
Yeah,
what's
I
the
know.
point of staying there? But don't forget, I'm going to be grading 10 random problems.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So it's, even if you know it, make
Of
sure you
course.
do it though.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Wait, this is Tuesday, right? For me,
Yes.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
Tuesday.
And what time does our class start?
I don't know what time.
5.
5 o'clock.
Yes.
Same here. I'm kind of lost. You're in front of me.
Oh, I was just, the page on the right that we initialed, that's Thursday lab.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I didn't miss it.
I'm in that one too. Am I not supposed to be on Tuesdays? It's only a Thursday deal.
Lab lectures Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay, gotcha.
Labs Tuesday or Thursday.
You said there's 2 sheets we need to sign as well, or is
There are 2 sheets. There's a Tuesday sheet on the left, a Thursday sheet on the right.
gotcha. I didn't see my name. sheet. Okay. I was on the right sheet.
Well, then you're gonna come on Thursday to lab. So
Gotcha.
you're finished for today.
Okay. I should still be here on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
And
didn't
what
get
time
those
again?
sheets. 5 o'clock. Yeah. All right.
I have a question. If I have to be absent because I have met appointments, how that works? We just send you.
It's not too bad if we're having a dry lab. If we're having a wet lab. Can't miss very many wet labs and still pass the class.
Right.
And I told you on the lecture lab schedule, which are dry and which are wet.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I have, I'm in the Thursday class, but, I'm going on a trip on the 8th. So would I be able to do, the lab on Tuesday instead, just that week?
Yes.
Okay,
How's that for a unilateral decision?
okay, so, yeah, that's all I had to, tell you about, so, thank you.
You're fine.
Have a good one.
Sure.
Hi, if I'm waitlisted for the class, do I need like an ad code?
I only have room if someone drops. So right now the class is full. So continue to come though, and you can actually come to lab too, since we're not doing anything, you know, safety wise.
Okay, then like Tuesday to Thursday for lab.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then when you, if you do get in, then you'll have one or the other.
I was just wondering if I'm gonna be on Tuesday and Thursday or just one or the other. I was on the sheet, at the bottom, I was Robertson. It
Was that on the left or the right?
was on the right.
That's Thursday then.
Thursday, so I won't come Tuesdays, just Thursdays.
For lab, lectures both days. So
Oh, okay. So what's the difference? Some people only come for one.
no, everyone comes Tuesday, Thursday lecture. And then some, half the people are going to go to Tuesday lab, the other half are going to go to Thursday lab. So one day you're going to be here an hour and a half, the other day you're going to be here 4.5 hours. Assuming the lab goes 3 hours.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for, that's my name. I'm on the wait list. Did you already get out now?
I don't have any room right now. Yeah. Now, I don't know if I have any no-shows. I don't know. I need to look at the list and see. And that's, and I thought,
It's fine. But if you do have something come up, should I just, I can keep coming in?
Yeah.
till-
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so-
and you can go to lab if you want. Because we're not doing anything that requires any goggles or anything like that. And next week as well. And I'd recommend think of it as an investment, a time investment. If you get in, you don't want to be lost either.
So
How far down the wait list are you?
number 2.
Yeah, I would. Number 2 isn't too bad. If you're like number 8, I'd say a waste of time to come. Just because I'm the only one teaching. I know. Well, they dropped 3 sections. We had 5 sections.
Yeah, I saw.
And I'm the only one teaching it. So we didn't have instructors. So anyway,
Yeah, so there is labs. I mean, Thursday. Yeah. So,
now you can go to lab tonight or Thursday. I put the worksheets on, oh, you can't get into Canvas because you're waitlisted. Email me and I'll send you the worksheets.
Okay, so I saw that everyone having that paper right there. Was that handed out at the beginning or is that a worksheet? that was already-
That's part of the lab packet that you purchase.
Oh,
But I put a digital copy on Canvas, which you don't have. That's why send me an email, I'll send them to you digitally.
and they. Was it, see,
yeah, so you're saying there is a lab today?
There is a lab today.
that I-
Or Tuesday. Yeah, why don't you come on Thursday? I'll send you the worksheets. And then you can have them, you'll know what I'm doing. Because I don't have any copies of them, because everyone was supposed to bring them.
I should take a picture. of it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You want to do it tonight, just take a picture and
Thank you.
that's fine. I mean, it's a little awkward, but it works for me.
So my name is on the list. Does that mean I'm still on the wait list? Or does that mean I made it?
I'm right there. And this is the Thursday one, right?
This is waitlisted students.
Oh, that's why.
Where are you?
I'm number 6,
Okay.
but I'm waitlisted for, this is the Thursday class, right?
The Thursday lab
Oh, Thursday.
lecture, it's not like last time. We had 3-hour lectures. This time we're having hour and a half. It's 3 hours total, but I think it's much better than 3
Yeah.
hours is.
I agree. It's not as overwhelming, I think.
Hmm?
It's not as overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, and boring. I mean,
Yeah.
you tune out after like 2 hours, man. It's like,
see.
So are
see
you-
difference. So this is Tuesday lab, right?
Yeah, and
I didn't see the R, okay. That's why I missed.
well, when I first started working, I didn't know what R was either.
I know.
That was TR.
Why wouldn't they just use the T, a TH, like normal
TH,
people?
yeah.
So then so if I am in the Thursday class, I go to the lab on Thursday?
Correct,
Okay, so I'm not going to lab tonight?
correct.
Okay, that's good, because I'm exhausted. So, I mean, so all of these people didn't come, so then that bumps me up higher on the list, right?
Yeah, put your number 2.
Okay. But there's only one spot?
Yes, one spot. But I don't know about the no-show people either, so.
Okay. Oh, yeah, for like the regular roster. Okay. So if some of the people on the regular roster don't show up, then you'll have more spots available for waitlist.
Correct. That's how it is in all classes.
Okay. Yeah, I've never done the waitlist thing, so I didn't know.
Well, the reason why this is so long is because I'm the only person teaching it.
I know, and they canceled it, and like, I don't get notifications from my Outlook email. So I just happened to check it and it was like, oh, sorry, you got canceled out. So then I have
There's no one to-
DSPS, so I have like,
There's no one to teach it.
right.
They didn't have enough instructors. Did they say that in the email?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what they said, but I have early enrollment because I'm a DSPS student. And so it would like, it didn't even help me because,
And and I think,
if I am in the class, can I use the same lab packet as spring semester? This one?
yeah, I don't think it's changed.
Because I
Yes,
ended up not
yes.
doing this at all.
Why don't, because you're early enrollment, that bumps you up. Let's see here, yeah. Use this number here.
Okay.
Um, and cough all day. It's much better.
Yeah, you did actually cough a lot less time around. And my name's spelled wrong. Does that matter? It's just, there's an S at the end and then it's ADREA. EA. There you go.
It's more for me than,
Yeah, that's what I figured, but. Okay, so then I use this ad code, so then I'm in the class.
yes.
Yay, thank you.
And it's also, the reason why I jumped you up 1 is because you're,
DSP.
yeah, because you get priority. So,
Yeah. And then it's the same textbook as last time, because I still have the textbook. And then I can use the same lab packet.
Yep. And welcome to class.
You know, I set it up this way, so that way I can go right into the next step in chemistry for the spring semester. So that way I don't forget everything that I learned. This is not my forte.
Just keep in mind, though, that 1A is pain.
No, I think I have 1B. Whatever the easier one that you told me last time. That's the one I'm in. I asked my counselor and he was so bad, but she verified.
Okay,
Because what is it, 1B, right?
no, it's,
Or 2A?
okay, 2A, there's one of the, they used to have a regular chair in here, like a couple weeks ago. Oh, there it is over there. They're different tracks.
Yeah.
One track is 1A, 2B, and 1A, 1B. Another track is 3A, 3B, then 1B. Another track is 2A and 2B.
2A sounds kind of familiar.
2A is the allied health track.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I'm going into radiology. So.
Yeah.
It'd be 2A.
Yeah.
Okay.
I covered the ship. Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I have a question, except
Uh-huh.
for I'm Tuesday lab, so. But I have my book here. It's like.
Overload because there's no chemical.
Okay, let me. That would be.
Yes, minor detail.
Like, I could do.
Get in one and you want the other one, see if someone will swap it. Doesn't matter to me.
Oh, I don't mind swapping, actually. I mean, I was just saying, if I attend this lab. Possibility of fitting in, I feel like I'm going to, but. Cause I feel like not everybody, like, usually people do drop, or like, they
They
do,
do, yeah.
yeah.
But the question is.
Well. I'm not willing to attend this, that's always an option, right, for the both courses, we can attend those labs.
No.
No, okay.
One or the other. Again, limited on numbers.
Yeah.
Because of the state, fire marshal. Yeah.
I didn't get to see the goggles. Oh, no, you said it was gonna be on campus, but I already have.
And there's chemical splash proof.
Yeah.
No,
I have the vented and. Yeah, sweet, so I will, so you recommend I probably should just